What a beautiful morning. I'm so honored and delighted to be here among you and share the good news of Jesus Christ. Thank you, JJ, and the leadership team for inviting me. This is one of my favorite churches, and if I ever get a chance to come, I will come. So when invitation came, I say yes. And people from even BC was connecting with me that I know that you're preaching today. So your church is more than this little corner of Toronto. Your church is in multiple places and they are cheering for you and praying for you. God is good. I'm also really grateful that our daughter Hannah, is worshiping with us too. And thank you for coming. I understand that this year 2023, is a really big year for Metropolitan Community Church, as you are celebrating how many years? 50th. You know, the number 50 is very meaningful biblical idea. It is associated with God's call for a jubilee. And I dare to say that the Jubilee year is the most important biblical concept and the most liberating and most theologically visionary idea in the Bible. In the Jubilee year, every 50th year, everything returns to God. Everyone goes home. Equity is restored. There's no more bondage. There's no more oppression. There's no more debt. Every living human being, the land, the creatures on those land are renewed. Everything gets to start anew. It's a new beginning. Jubilee also proclaims the sovereignty of God. Everything belongs to God, our Creator. And this vision is totally relational. Everything on earth is related, and we are one big earth family. Sometimes our relationships get out of whack. And Jubilee makes it all right again. Think about the things that are growing. We are in the season of spring, and I'm just thinking about the farmers. And in order to grow crops well, farmers know that they need to give their land a rest, their animals to rest, even their machines to rest. Farmers and us must appreciate the cycle of life and death, and life beyond death. Jubilee for Christian is an Easter. It's an Easter message, right? Because there's life and there's death, but then there's life beyond that, right? Spring only comes after the deadly winter. And the very productive harvest, life takes downtime. It needs to recuperate and recharge. In Asian culture, I grew up in South Korea, and in that culture, when a person turns number 50, it makes a very profound, important moment. And it says, 지, 천, 명. And what that means is that they know, or old enough, or wise enough to know the will of God, or the will of heaven. Do you, Metropolitan Community Church, Do you know the will of God, the way of heaven? If you do, what would that be? If you don't, I hope this year, as you're celebrating your 50th year, find a way or an answer to this question. I passed age 50, and I'm not sure I actually know the will of God or will of heaven. And so, please help me to find that will, and maybe shall we maybe discern that will of God, will of heaven. One of the wonderful things about this church, and I'm not jokingly saying that this is one of my favorite churches, is because every time I come, I feel like you are my family. Few times I came, I just felt so welcomed. I felt a sense of joy, even the goofiness, warmth, sometimes lots of that laughters, but even tears. Right? During that kind of ointment ceremony, I remember, people were crying, but in such a family way. Your gestures and genuine practice of welcoming is very contagious. But one of the most important service I attended here was last summer. It was for the funeral of Reverend Warren Shell. If you were there in this service, you would know what I'm trying to describe. But if you weren't, just in case, then let me share some of those stories. I know Warren and John, who is here, close to 25 to 30 years. And because of my extended family, my partner David's family through David's maternal grandmother and fathers, Edward, Newberry, and Rena. I hope that Warren doesn't mind me telling about him a little bit here. Warren grew up in French River, Northern Ontario. As a young man growing up in the 1950s and 60s, it wasn't easy place to be gay. He would often travel down to Toronto and visit the gay bars here. At least one occasion, he was there when the police raided the bar he was at, and he would wind up in jail. He could not tell his father what had happened, or his mother, who wasn't able to drive down to get him out. Instead, he had to lean on his minister, Reverend Newberry. Reverend Newberry drove down from the French River, paid his bail, got him out, brought him home. Since that time, Warren was like family to them. Reverend and Mrs. Newberry accepted Warren and played a very pivotal role in his life. It may have been this relationship that helped Warren discern his call and that eventually led him to study at Emmanuel College to become a United Church minister. Good families know instinctively what the needs are, and the well-being of those are dependent on each other's well-being and care. Some may assume, though, that family members come from the same mother and father biologically. But we know the family is much bigger than that. Family is much more diverse and inclusive than that. Families, as you know, are made of those who love one another. Some people live alone with pets, and I'm so delighted that we actually pets in our pews here. and consider them as their family, right? Why not? I love my plants. And I don't know if they love me, but they sure make me very happy when they are doing well. Indigenous people speak of all our relations, the family of life that ties and binds everything together. The heterosexist notion of the family, of the nuclear biological human family, is only acceptable norm of the family life? I don't think so. As a matter of fact, such a norm didn't even work in the first century either. Who is my mother and my brother? Jesus asked. Not denying them, but looking beyond his own biological mother and brothers, he pointed to his disciples and perhaps pointed to us today. You are my mother. You are my brothers and sisters. Whoever do the will of God are my brothers and sisters and my kin and my family. Jesus is obviously talking about family beyond the bloodline. Jesus' teaching is really simple. Whoever is doing the will of God is my family. See, Jesus is talking about Jubilee. Jesus is even talking, maybe not Korean, but knowing the meaning of the 지천명. Jesus is talking about the will of heaven. And that will is really creating a big one earth family. That is the work of love. And that work takes some hard work. Right? Love is not an easy thing to do. It takes brave, even self-giving lists or self-giving, giving up work. And some unlearning to do. Because it is easy to sacrifice for my own children, for my own sister and brothers, or my own partner, husband and wives and spouse. It is even easy to give up or ask for help if they are related, who live so-called in the same house. But it is not easy to sacrifice for someone who you never met, or those who you even don't know. It is not easy to share what we have with those whom we are not related. Yet, whether we never met or barely know someone, we are related in God's sight and in God's will. And our lives, often depend on those who are beyond our nuclear biological family. Reverend Newberry and his family, in my view, did God's work, the Jubilee work, because they answered Jesus' question, who is my brother? With Warren is. And I know that Warren paid that forward many times, because I am one of those beneficiaries. When I married David, Warren and John were sure to let me know that I am family too. Whenever we gather for a meal, Warren and John made sure that I am welcomed and belong to Newberry and Craig family. That's why that service was so special and so beautiful to watch and witness, how Warren, in ways, he became a remarkable pastor to all of you and the brother. Now, let me share another story, this time from my home country, Korea. Reverend Boram Lim was an ordained minister of the Presbyterian Church in the Republic of Korea, a very wonderful, close partner church of the United Church of Canada. Reverend Im was a formidable advocate for the LGBTQ people in Korea for many decades. Because of this work, she received many death threats and was a target for terrible witch hunts by homophobic and transphobic Christian communities in Korea. Despite that evil forces, she mentored, pastored so many amazing queer Christian young people in Korea. It was truly inspiring to watch how she built a community, a family, out of a small building in Seoul. I had the privilege of walking with them in Seoul Pride Parade with her and the group in year 2015. And I should tell you that in that huge thousands of crowd, there were members of the metropolitan community churches as well. What Bora did was more than justice work, more than human rights work, more than a pastoral work. To me, she created a family. Reverend Lim was really treating those who were rejected by their own biological family due to their sexual orientation and gender identities. She made sure that they belong to a family, that they have home to come to, a home that God created. Veron Lim passed away this past February. She was about my age. None of our friends exactly know what happened. But we know that standing up for that advocacy work probably took its toll. And her death is really hard to accept for so many people who are touched by this ministry of creating a family. But I met Bora here via Zoom over the Christmas break. And one of our UCC leaders and she and I met during it's about 4 months ago exactly, and talking about how we can help to bring those wonderful young Christian leaders who are queer, who are called by God, who want to serve and lead the church. Yet because of that persecution that is happening in Korea, they cannot unless they hide and fake their identities. So she asked me how our college, Emmanuel College, can support and sponsor in some way to get some of them out. And late January, I got email from a student to be. And because of that email exchange, I emailed Bora, and that was February the 4th. And we talked about how to get this person in. And exactly 3 days later, I heard this news of her death. So it is really, really hard to grapple with and facing this unbelievable news. And I'm still praying and discerning how I can still carry her mission, her ministry, her request without her presence on earth. And I am standing here before you, and I'm wondering again, and I wonder if Metropolitan Community Church can be a partner in helping to create this family across Pacific Ocean, helping these Korean queer students to come to study at Emmanuel College. I know you have been doing such amazing work, bring people from all over the world so that they have home, that they feel that this community church is a family to them. So might this life-giving, transforming project become a part of your 50th anniversary vision and discernment? Could this be a part of your Jubilee celebration, proclaiming that all who belong to God are members of God's family? Jesus asked, "Who is my mother and my brothers?" I want to thank you again for this invitation and become a part of your family this morning. May God bless this beautiful church, very precious community, to continue to thrive and help people find their home here. Amen.